Blood filled my mouth before I even hit the floor. The crack of his fist still echoed in my skull when my shoulder ripped out of its joint. I remember the rug threads against my face, drenched red, and the taste of iron on my tongue. I was living in a suburb of Boston, Massachusetts. My brother-in-law, Stephen, stood over me, chest gasping, fury in his eyes. My sister, called Mia. She didn't cry, she didn't flinch. She just folded her arms. And Said, cold as stone, you should have signed the mortgage. That was her response to my broken body. Not pity, not dread, just calculation. I dragged myself to my parents' door, one arm useless, blood streaking my shirt, begging for support. My father froze, my mother wept, and then blackness. When I woke up, the police were already inside. What they found, even they weren't prepared for. My sister was my earliest protector. When we were children, she'd chase away troublemakers, bandage my knees, whisper promises that she'd always be there. I trusted her. When she married him, I told myself he'd safeguard her. The way she shielded me, he smiled like a polite man, shook my hand firmly, said, "Family means everything." I believed him. I trusted her. That's what makes deceit a toxic substance. It doesn't emanate from opponents. It comes from the ones you would give your life for. It started minorly. He'd make light of finances at family dinners, about how I had it good with my career, my funds, my self-control. My sister chuckled a little too loudly. Then the requests arrived. First a small loan, then larger, then the house loan cosigner. Their voices became heavier. When I declined, "Your blood," my sister snapped, "if you care for me, you'll perform this, but affection and obligation are not the same." I refused. The smiles disappeared. The strain increased, then the fight, my repercussion for remaining strong. The pain gave me clarity. I was 28 years old and on that hospital cot with my arm secured and my jaw half sealed. I realized two things. They perceived me as weak. They didn't realize how dangerous I could be when I remained silent. I didn't shout for justice. I didn't curse them to anyone who would listen. Instead, I heard. I investigated while my wounds recovered. I collected information. His business data, her credit history, the untruths they fed my parents. Every piece of their fragile empire was built on debts, deceit, and desperation. I didn't want revenge. Fueled by anger, I wanted it constructed with precision. Step 1. Quiet. I stopped confronting, stopped opposing. I let them believe I was destroyed. People are careless when they think you've given up. Step 2. Entry. I tracked his dishonest dealings, illegal payments, forged bills, a trail of obligations he hid under false documents. I gathered evidence like treasures, storing them where only I could gain access. Step 3. The ambush. I went to my parents, calm, wounded, but determined. I showed them every paper, every proof of how my sister and her husband were exhausting them. The shock in my father's eyes hurt me more than my injuries, but I didn't cease. There I handed the files to the lender, the revenue authorities, the police. Not just one attack, a tempest from all directions. I made sure every chain of events lined up. All I had to do was observe them fall. The day it all crashed down, I was there. I walked into their house uninvited. My sling was gone by then, my body rehabilitated, but my presence still disturbed them. He sat at the table, bills scattered like debris. My sister's phone buzzed without stopping. Creditors, lawyers, investigators. He looked up at me with red eyes. "You performed this." I didn't deny it. I just stood there, calm, steady. My sister's voice wavered. "Why, you're my brother." I leaned nearer so she could see every scar on my face, every reminder of that night you broke that tie, the moment you left me, bleeding for a signature. Then the knock came, not soft, not polite. The authorities stormed in, papers and hand charges. Read aloud: fraud, assault, misappropriation. The horror on their faces wasn't fury, it was awareness. They weren't safe. Their empire was dust. As the handcuffs clicked shut, my brother-in-law spat out curses. My sister, she just gazed at me, empty, yet like she finally saw who I had become. I didn't smile when they pulled him out. I didn't boast when she pleaded the officers for mercy. Retribution isn't about joy, it's about equilibrium. That evening I sat in quiet, still seeing faint scars on my skin, watching the house across the street, their residence, go dark permanently. People asked me later if I regretted it, if I felt remorse for Destroying my own sister's life, but remorse belongs to those who strike first. I only completed what they started, and in the quiet of my mind, one truth pulsed steady as my heartbeat. They thought family made me weak, but blood is what made me fearless. If this story gave you chills, imagine what's next. Subscribe to Home Exposed and stay tuned.